Rest in peace, DDDs. Shit, I forgot to put DDDs on the countdown. Ah, sue me.
YugiNoNo!
King Prepare! Alright guys, so some Yu-Gi-Oh decks are way more loved by fans and way more played by fans than other decks, because there's just decks that are just not only cooler looking and better playing than other decks, but they're just more loved because they're from the anime or whatever reason. And with link summoning and rule changes coming up, a lot of players are concerned that they're not going to be able to play their favorite decks anymore, because new rules! Yay! But in this video guys, I'm going to be counting down my picks for the top 5 decks or archetypes that need link monsters. I know that there are going to be plenty of generic link monsters that every deck can use, but in this video I really wanted to go over decks that I think deserve their own link monster. Real quick, I want to get the honorable mentions out of the way, those being Blue Eyes and Cosmos. And the reason why these decks are the honorable mentions is because they are very loved by fans, but these are the 2 decks that actually need the extra deck the least. So these 2 archetypes are not going to be included on the countdown. So to the actual countdown, at the number 5 spot I have Zombies. And I picked Zombies because me and Zombies go way back, man. I remember being one of the first players to play Zombie Beals Turbo, like right when Beals came out, and that deck was just so much fun, and Beals was a bitch to get around. Sometimes you would just kind of auto win just because of Beals, and he's 3,000 attack. The guy was huge. Obviously Zombies have evolved a lot since then. Zombies now make like insane boards that make, you know, Omega and like steal cards from your hand and just do all kinds of crazy things, especially now that we have the Shiranui archetype, you know, that supports them. So Zombies these days can make some really impressive boards and are arguably one of the best rogue decks. And Zombies have been around for so long in Yu-Gi-Oh! I would hate to see them go away. So I think if they got some sort of link monster that had like a really cool graveyard targeting effect, you know, like summons a zombie from the graveyard or something like that, like a Zombie Master link monster, that would be really cool. And I think it would really help the deck stay alive and be competitive. At the number 4 spot, we have
Burning Abyss.
Burning Abyss is just one of those archetypes that I've always really loved and respected. I always loved what the archetype is based off of. You know, it's based off of Dante's Inferno, which is, you know, Divine Comedy. And that is really cool. Dante is a fantastic card. He is a fantastic protagonist for the archetype, just like he was the protagonist in the story. And the artwork on these cards are just so badass. I've always loved them. Now, that being said, I've always hated playing against them, though. The floating, the just all the floating. I cannot stand it. Not to mention, like, all the traps that deck can play. It is stupid. And then right when we think Burning Abyss is dead, we get Phantom Knights. Like, I wish I would have played Burning Abyss from the very get-go, right when they came out, and just kept playing them, because honestly, Burning Abyss is one of the few examples of a deck that people picked up and could actually play for well over a year and still actually win. I mean, it has been over 2 years and people still play Burning Abyss to this day. And I have mad respect for that. That is awesome. It actually shows how well designed that deck was. So now that me and like I'm sure plenty of other players have warmed up to Burning Abyss, like it just has its own place in Yu-Gi-Oh! And I think it deserves to have its own link monster. Once again, something that special summons from the graveyard would be desirable, or a link monster with like a Foolish Burial effect. I think that would also be really cool for the deck. At the number 3 spot, I have Performapals. And I put Performapals on this list because they are by far the most popular pendulum archetype, and all pendulums are kind of generic in their own way and they all play with each other, so just it really doesn't matter, you know, that the card would be a Performapal card. It just needs to be something that helps pendulums, because the wide consensus at this moment in Yu-Gi-Oh! Is that pendulums are going to be mostly dead. And that is because of the rule change saying that you can no longer pendulum summon 5 monsters from the extra deck. You can only pendulum summon from the extra deck to your extra deck zone. Unless of course you have a link monster that opens up more zones, then of course you can pendulum summon monsters from your extra deck to those zones that the link monster opened up, which really just overcomplicates
everything.
But it is what it is, and we are just gonna have to get used to it. So what could a Performapal link monster do that not only opens up zones but has a decent enough effect that's not too broken? I think what would be just fine and fair is a search for a pendulum monster at the end phase, similar to Magister Paladin. Because even though Magister Paladin has really good stats and searches any pendulum monster, it was never hit on the ban list or never really caused problems in the game, even though you could combo off of it with, you know, the Dracos. But even then, like I said, it was never really a problem in the game, and the search effect was like the least amount of problems in the game. So I think that a simple search effect at the end phase for any pendulum monster for a Performapal link monster is just more than fair. And at the number 2 spot, I have Heroes. And I'm gonna include all heroes here. Fusion heroes, masked heroes, I mean just everything. Heroes need to have a link monster, because heroes are arguably the most beloved Yu-Gi-Oh! Deck of all time. I mean, Stratos has been banned for years and players everywhere are still bitching about it. Rest in peace, Stratos. Rest in peace. And heroes are just one of those decks where they're just so consistent and they have such good support. Like a hero lives in E-Call, and those cards are amazing. Mass Change is also amazing. Bubble Man is amazing. I mean, heroes just have all these really good support cards, and I think it's one of the best designed decks of all time because it has definitely stood the test of time and has been competitive in several different formats throughout its life. Most recently, of course, is the Toad hero variant, which a lot of people do not like that variant of heroes, and I will agree that it is the most helmet, but you have to agree with me though that it is the most competitive. Mash Toad Heroes is the best build. It is the best build. Like, Toad Darklaw is still strong. I think a hero link monster would be really cool, and I think given the right circumstances it could keep like Toad Heroes alive. But Toad Heroes, like I said, are just really helmet. Matter of fact, I had the deck and I had it like near max rarity, like ulti, hero lives, ulti bubbleman, you know, all of that stuff. And I actually sold the deck. I mean, I spent a lot of money on it, you know, hollowing it out, but it was just, it was boring. It really was just a boring deck. I mean, I won a lot with it, but it was just, it's easy wins. So I would like a link monster that contributed more to the fusions. Like a hero link monster that opens up zones, of course, but also gives you a search for a mass change or a miracle fusion. I think that would be really badass. I just really want to see heroes live. Pun intended. And at the number 1 spot, of course, we have my biased opinion. Of course, at the number 1 spot, I have Cyber Dragons. And that is because Cyber Dragons, of course, are one of my favorite decks, if not my favorite deck. You know that I am very well known for my crazy Cyber Dragon builds, my crazy and really good competitive Cyber Dragon builds. And it's because I just won't put the deck down. I like it way too much. And we did get some exciting news the other day that we are going to be getting a new Cyber Dragon fusion monster, which may be a sign that it's time to break out the power bonds again. Because as you know, I turned Cyber Dragons into a hardcore combo deck, making Crystal Wing, Infinity, Pleiades, or Durandal, instead of good old Chimera Tech Rampage OTK. And that is because, like, the power bond build is not as consistent as the combo build. But if we got a link monster that searched out power bond, I know guys, being able to search out power bond is nuts. But if we did, that would just be really sweet. And we would have an OTK deck that people actually like and can respect because Cyber Dragons have been around forever. I really feel like not being able to search out power bond is the only thing that has held the fusion version of Cyber Dragons back. Because imagine if you could search out Power Bond, that combined with cards like Pot of Desires, which lets you, draw cards and see more cards from your deck, those would make for some really consistent OTKs. Because Chimera Tech is a fantastic card. It pops cards upon summon, gets up to 4,200 attack, sends cards from your deck to the graveyard to fill your graveyard with Cyber Dragons, and then it can attack 3 times. Like, the card is insane. Cyber Dragons have enough main deck monsters, in my opinion. I wouldn't mind another Cyber Dragon main deck monster, but I think that the only thing that has been holding Cyber Dragons back for many years is not being able to search Power Bond. And if we got a link monster that searched Power Bond, I think that Cyber Dragons could be very competitive. But yeah, guys, that is going to be it for this countdown. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I would love to hear what archetypes that you guys think should get link monsters down in the comment section. And as always, guys, be sure to dick slap that like button and subscribe. Subscribe.